PFKC Podcast Corner. Maybe I will try to have fun talking to them and investigate if we are more capable and like the evidence as well. Have been asking questions.
Good afternoon, everyone, and to our audience, welcome to another casual episode of our podcast. And today we have a very special actor called Clive Mantle, who is famous for Publicity, Robin of Sherwood, and Casualty. Welcome, Clive.
Hello, it's lovely to be able to speak to you all, and it's a great pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's not a problem, Clive.
What's it like having a career?
Oh, Shannon, that's a very good question. Well, it's fantastic to have lasted over 45 years or however long it is since I left drama school. Not many people last that long in acting. So that's the main point, is to just keep going, keep trying to earn a living, and keep trying to do the best work you possibly can. A lot of people have a wonderful fiery start in the profession, and they do something extraordinary which catches the imagination and makes everyone sit up and listen. But the art of being an actor is to keep it going for 30, 40, 50 years. So I'm nearly at 50 years.
That's a long time.
It is a long time, yes. So I'm 67 now. So yeah, by the time I get another couple of years, and I'll have been going for 50 years. That's not bad. Thank you. Very good question, Shannon. Thank you.
You get paid for it?
Yeah, we get paid for it. Sometimes when you start out as an actor, for instance, I did a lot of amateur productions. That's in, like your local town, your local village, your local city, wherever you're based, will have amateur dramatic companies and they put on a range of plays throughout the year, and maybe a pantomime at Christmas, that sort of thing. And if you want to be an actor, it's a really good idea to join one of those companies and see if you like it, see if it works for you, see if you're any good at it. You'll soon find out. It's not a difficult thing to gauge audience reaction when you're on stage. You soon find out whether people are restless or not enjoying what you're doing. And you soon find out whether they are enjoying what you're doing. There's no greater feeling than standing on stage and saying a funny line and getting a wave of laughter back from an audience. That's a great feeling. So so start out as an amateur in local amateur dramatics companies or youth theatres. They're most fantastic organisations to help you decide whether it's the sort of thing you want to do, and then gradually you get to do some paid work, which is the ultimate ambition for an actor, is to earn a living at doing it. And that you do a mixture of film, of radio, of TV, talking books, podcasts like this, whatever comes in, you throw your hat into the ring and say, I'll give that a go. And most of the time they give you some money for it. So it's lovely.
Yeah, do a bit of local acting myself, actually.
Oh, brilliant. Whereabouts?
It's just a local theatre where we are, but I was literally just thrown in at the deep end, to be honest, because I started back after COVID and I used to work in media. I went back and they were like, oh, you're one of the actors. And I'm like, oh, help. But
Well, how do
so-
you find the learning your lines and things like that? Did that come back easily? Is that all right?
yeah, it went well. I just sort of like jotted down all notes for him, and then when show came, I was just literally backstage rehearsing them all.
Oh, good.
All of the guys.
My tip for learning lines is that you record them on your phone and then play them back to yourself over and over and over and over again, and gradually they become, you assimilate them in your head, and then you record them again without your lines. So you record everyone else's lines and leave a gap where your lines should be. So in essence, as you're learning the lines, you're talking to yourself. So someone's lines will come over in your earphone, and then you speak, and then so that's how I learn my lines on country walks with my headphones on, like you've all got your headphones on there. And I once did a play about Tommy Cooper, who's a very famous comedian who talked quite loud. He had a big loud voice. So when I was learning my lines for that, I was walking along country lanes talking like Tommy Cooper and a whole load of cows in the field, looking over the hedge, wondering what on earth was this bloke doing. So anyway, you get some funny looks from people, but it's all in a good cause.
Because most of the guys had done a few before, and they were like, "Oh, help!" But once I'd done it, I could just, everyone enjoyed it, so like, oh, might as well keep it up.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're a natural, so that's very good.
I'd just like to say, I was going to say, Clive, that being an actor is something that I'm 30 now, but I'm deciding not to be a real actor because I don't want to walk down the road talking in a big loud voice. Because I get some I have to use a cane because I'm registered blind, so I don't want to be knocking myself over or doing all like that.
No, that's not the only way of learning lines. That's just my way. But you could perfectly well sit in a chair and learn lines and not hurt anybody,
Oh, I was in a few plays at school during
Yeah.
my education and talent contests, and that got a general stuff, but I don't think I can see myself becoming a real actor because I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know who I wanted to be. It's a hard job, I've heard.
It really is a hard job, but it's not like coal mining, or it's not like
No.
it's not like being in the front line of troops in a war or anything like that. But
No.
each job has its own difficulties, and acting has its own set of difficulties. But if you're not going to perform, then why don't you write, or why don't you write things for other people to perform?
Well,
Am I tempting you with that? Is that
I think you are. Let's
Good.
move on.
You've done quite a few programs such as Holby City, Hollywood, that sort of thing. What's been your favourite actor to play?
Well, the favorite
character,
my favorite television show to be in is one which we were making 40 odd years ago. So long time before any of you were born. It was a thing called Robin of Sherwood, but it is still shown on the television in school holidays, things like that. They still repeat it. And I played a lovely character called Little John in that, Robin Hood's sort of right-hand man.
And I hate to interrupt, but I know you were Little John, but I know another actor called Nicholas Grace who played the evil sheriff. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. You got that spot on. Yes, Nick.
Your,
Yeah,
your
was
horse.
he was the Sheriff of Nottingham, and it was a fantastic cast, and probably the most famous of which now is an actor called Ray Winston. He was Will Scarlett.
Yes.
And we had lots and lots of guest stars come through. But that was fantastic. That was basically for 3 years. We sat around in a forest and occasionally got up, had a bit of a fight with some Norman soldiers, and then broke into Nottingham Castle every week and rescued somebody. And then, so that was a really, really lovely job.
What sort of feeling did you feel when you had to rescue someone like that?
Oh, well, because it's all part of the story. It's filmed in tiny little segments. So when you first get the script, you have to work out what your part of the story is. Obviously, you've got lines to say, but you have to work out a progression of your character in that story, in that episode. And then you can film it all completely out of order. So you have to know what your character is going to do later on in the piece. And then you have to pace yourself accordingly, and you have to build what the character's doing throughout that episode, which that takes some concentration. It takes some working out with the director and the writers and people. Yes, Luke, you got your hand up.
Yes, I'm sorry. To go back to Robin of Sherwood,
Yeah.
I was reading on Wikipedia about you the other week, and I hear that you all have a yearly reunion day. Is that right?
We do. We have an official sort of convention every year or every other year where all the fans of the series can come and meet us all and have their photographs taken with us, that sort of thing. But also, we're all still the best of mates after 40 odd years. We're all still we're fantastic pals, and we're going. The music in the series was done by an amazing group called Clannad, who are an Irish folk band.
I've heard of them. I've heard their soundtrack, and it's just absolutely wonderful.
It really is. It's fantastic. And guess what? They're playing at the Royal Albert Hall on October the 30th, and we're all going to be there. Yeah,
the night before Halloween.
I know.
Congratulations.
Oh, well, it's nothing to do with us. We'll be watching Clannad performing, but we all still get together. We all went on holiday. Well, 4 of us and our wives went on holiday in February this year. We're all still in contact, but our WhatsApp group now is very we send messages like what sort of blood pressure medication we're on and how many hip replacements.
Oh my God, I wouldn't do that. I'm just going, hey, how are you? Have a lovely day. Hope you're well.
Well, that's what we used to say, but now we're all getting old. We're all old merry men now. That's what it.
Retired merry men.
Retired is the word, yes. Tired and retired, yeah.
Tired and retired. Oh my God.
No, but Robin of Sherwood was my favourite television job, and I've had a lot of very happy television jobs, but none has ever come close to that. And in the theatre, I've done my favourite. I've got 2 favourites. One was Tommy Cooper, which I've just mentioned. The other one was a wonderful. Don't know if any of you are familiar with a book called Of Mice and Men, written by an amazing man called John Steinbeck.
I've heard the title, and I've heard you, Clive, in another interview with Benjamin Timothy Gorby mention that very, very name, but I've never read the book ever.
It's one of the most beautiful stories you could ever read, and he's a great character, Lenny, in Of Mice and Men, Lenny, and he's really worth reading about, and it's a fantastic story.
So it's for everybody then. It's not a serious book, it's not a dirgy book, it's for everyone.
It's not a dirgy book, and it's a wonderful story. It's a heart-stopping, heart-rending story. It's
A heart-lifting story.
yes, it's a wonderful story about comradeship and life against adversity. Yeah, it's well worth a read.
I might ask for it for Christmas.
Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely book.
So, how is it to study acting?
Well, it's, as you can imagine, it's every day is there's a variety of things. It's not the one thing about a career in acting. You never do unless you're in a soap opera or a year in the West End doing the same show 8 times a week. You're very rarely doing the same thing all the time, and that's what half the appeal of being an actor is, the fact that it's so varied. We're terrible because if we're doing a television, we think, oh, I'd love to be back on the stage. If we're on the stage, we think, oh, I'd love to be doing a film. If we're doing a film, we say, oh, it'd be nice to do a little bit on the radio. So we're sort of, by and large, we're characters who like to variety in life. We like to do as many different things as we possibly can. And then there's a different sort of actress who like being solid and set in one job. And, if you're in a soap opera like EastEnders or something like that, there's no room to do anything else. That takes up all your time. So if you do that for a few years, that's a different type of acting. But it's it takes an awful lot of skill to be able to perform in one of those soap operas. But the target is to do as many different things as you possibly can.
And what's been the most challenging role that you've had?
I think Lenny, obviously, in Of Mice and Men, and if you read the story, that you'll understand why that was a challenge. And really, from a practical point of view, Tommy Cooper was a comedy magician, so I had to learn all his tricks, all his magical tricks. And half the fun of Tommy Cooper was the fact that he kept getting them wrong. So but you have to know how to do them correctly in order to do them wrong, if that makes sense. So I spent a long time learning how to do the magic, and it's a lovely skill to have picked up. But then I was on stage by myself for most of that show, so it's a one-man show for sort of 3/4 of it at least. So it was that was I was talking to you earlier on about finding out whether you're suited for it, and to hear the audience response to Tommy Cooper's jokes was a fantastic feeling. Literally every performance, it was a lovely thing to do. Yes.
It says on Wikipedia. I hope I'm not asking too much. I hope we're not asking too much.
You ask away. It's a great thrill to talk to you.
It says on the internet that one Christmas you were actually in a panto with someone somewhere. Is that right?
Yes, I've done 3 pantos in my time.
3? Wow.
In Bath, in Worcester, and in where was the other one? Fareham in Hampshire. Yes, lovely. So, but they are. That's another. You have to really be fit and firing
and committed.
Yeah, because you're doing 3 shows a day a lot of the time, And the first one would be about 11 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
And the makeup takes about an hour, and the warm up before that. And you've got to make sure your voice is warmed up. And so that's a bit of an early start, which a lot of actors don't really like.
No,
We're used to a late finish, but an early start's a bit frightening. But that again is great to hear. I always play the baddie in pantomime, so it's if I walk on stage and everyone boos, I know I'm doing the right thing.
Well, one year weren't you the cast of the evil magician Ebenezer in Aladdin?
That's right. That's I've always played Ebenezer, who obviously tries to get the best of Aladdin, but loses out in the end. Quite rightly.
Yeah.
Panto's always a story of good triumphing over evil.
Right, we're going to move on.
Lovely. Well done. Nice questions.
Yes. Now here is my question. You've done a lot of audio books, haven't you?
I have. I haven't really totted up exactly how many, but it's approaching 200 or so there are a lot of children's stories, a lot of detective stories, a lot of sort of army type things as well. And I've done my own books that I write. I've recorded those as well. And it's a fantastic thing to record an audio book, because obviously in real life I'm 6'5.5". I'm a big old gruff chap, but on an audio book I can be a little old granny 1 minute. I can be a monster the next. I can be Welsh then, and I can be, so you could just change. You change your voice. It's a fantastic thing as an actor to be able to play all those different parts.
And those voice impressions, I'm going to test you now, because I had an audio book, the audio book recording of Beyond the Deep Woods by Paul Stewart.
Yes.
Chris Riddell and the Edge Chronicles. It was the Twig Saga.
Yes, I recorded that, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
The Gloam Gloser.
You do the voice. You do my voice. It's a long time ago, so I can't quite remember what I did. But you do an impersonation of my voice.
Master Twig.
Well, you'll be doing me out of a job. You're too good.
I'll tell you. Go I remember.
Well, and thank goodness that you're out there and you're listening to the books, because we put so much effort into creating them with the different voices, and we have to try and bring the book alive for people who are listening. And so I'm really glad it made an impression on you.
I've also listened to everything by J.R.R. Tolkien, and I also listened to Harry Potter with Stephen Fry.
Stephen Fry.
He was brilliant.
Yes, yeah. He's a wonderful actor, a lovely chap. I've worked with him on the telly, on his comedy shows, and he's a really lovely chap.
We're moving on now. What sort of books have you written yourself?
Well, I write adventures for children from about the age of 8 upwards, and they're what you would call historical adventures. So it's a 13-year-old boy who gets a map of the world for his birthday, through which he can disappear to any place in the world at any time in history. And he's got some mates who he travels with. And the first one's all about Mount Everest. The second one's all about Tutankhamun. And the third one's about the Great Plague, Great Fire of London. and I've just written the one about Vesuvius and Pompeii. So that I place my characters in the actual historical setting. They have their own adventure interwoven in the actual historical events.
Yes, Clive, and I have to say that's also important to read about that in life, because we can't just read about made up things. We've gotta learn about the true things as well that happens.
Well, that you absolutely hit the nail on the head there. That's fantastic. And what these books go down terribly well in schools and in libraries, because a lot of, especially young boys, don't like to read very much. But if you give them an adventure to follow, and actually in amongst the historical events, they soak up the history without them actually realizing that they're doing it. So I call it history by stealth. Yeah.
History by stealth. My God, that's a Clive, that is real.
Well, thank you. They go down very well, and they're a great pleasure to write. But I sort of do a year's research on each book. You know, I read lots of books about. I've just finished the one about Pompeii and Rome. So I'm in the wonderful woman called Mary Beard, who does lots of things about Rome on the television and the radio. So I read everything she's ever written, and then I have to work out how I'm going to place my story in amongst the actual historical events. Yeah, so it's great. So it's the perfect accompaniment to acting, because when I'm not acting, I can be writing, and when I'm not writing, I can be acting.
Why do you think lads aren't interested to read anymore?
I think it's a great shame. Statistically, it's true. I think maybe there's a peer pressure at school is to try and be a bit cool, try and be a bit, it's uncool to read. Maybe that's what people think. Whereas actually the opposite is true. I mean, the more you read, the more amazing your own adventures in life will be. The more you read, the more interesting a person you are, because you've got so much more to talk about with people. You've got so much more information about the world that you can share. You can work out your place in the world so much more easily.
More intelligent you get as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Well done, exactly. Because if we don't read, what sort of people will we be? Nothing.
Exactly right.
Exactly right. Push yourself to read that.
Sorry, say that again, Shannon.
You have to push yourself to get where you want to go in life.
Yes, you're exactly
Well
right, Shannon.
done.
And the more information you read, it's as valuable to learn what you don't want to do in life as it is what you want to do in life. And you can read so much about different jobs, different careers, different places, different countries, different races. It's just it's the most amazing. It's like opening 1 million doors to life. Each book will open another 100 doors onto a vision of what the future could hold for you. So thank you. What a lovely question, Shannon. And I would encourage everyone to read as much as they possibly can,
And it's
especially my book.
Yes, and it's not just books. There's music as well. I've got many favorite genres of music.
Yeah, well, music is a thing which I'm particularly fond of, because I grew up. I was sang in a very, very famous choir when I was from the age of about 9 to 13, and we used to tour the world. We used to make records, things like that, and sing in all these amazing cathedrals and churches and abbeys. So I had a very, very privileged start to my life, really, educationally. But more than anything else, it gave me a great love of architecture and pageant and music in general. which I've lasted all my life. I love all sorts of music.
Yeah, good. We'll move on to Daniel now.
Daniel, lovely. What have you got to ask, Daniel?
Do you have any advice before any your actors?
Do I have any advice or tips for any budding actors? All right. Well, you've got to be a bit thick-skinned. I don't know if you know what I mean by that. It means that you get a few knocks. For each person that you see on the telly or hear on the radio, 20 people at least will have been considered for that role. And if it's a woman, even more. It's so much more difficult for women than it is for men, even. So you have to get used to rejection a little bit. So you've got to be thick-skinned. Thick-skinned means being able to deal with rejection. You can desperately want a part, it goes to someone else, and you've got to grit your teeth and go, well, that wasn't my time, wasn't right for me. And you can't be upset with the person who does get the job because it's not their fault. It's just the luck of the draw. So that's a big tip, is to not get too despondent when you don't get the work, but to try as hard as possible to get the work in the first place. If it doesn't work out, you've got to have a deal with it and move on and concentrate on the next audition or the next chance. So that's one. Always learn your lines. That's the absolutely fundamental requisite as an actor. You've got to know the lines forwards, backwards, sideways, upside down. The really good way of testing whether you know the lines is it to do them when there's something else going on. So if you can imagine yourself on a film set, and there's a camera in front of you or several cameras in front of you, there's 40 or 50 or 60 or 100 people standing around, all got jobs to do on the film set, and you've got an awful lot of lines to say and remember, and that's quite off-putting. And I can remember my early times on a film set being a bit thrown by the fact that I'd learned my lines with my eyes closed, and I knew them perfectly well. As soon as I opened them, there's 100 people standing there and cameras and things like that, and it throws you a little bit. So always test yourself whether you know the lines properly by doing it when the television's on or when something else is happening in the same room. And if you can do that, then you really do know you've learnt the lines properly. So you've got to know your lines, and you've got to turn up at the right time. You cannot be late. As an actor, you cannot be late. If you're in the theatre and there's 1,000 people all turned up for a performance at 7:30, there's no point you rolling in at 7:45 saying, oh, I'm sorry, my bus was late and all that sort of thing. You have to you always make sure you get the bus before the bus that you need, or the train before the train that you need. You cannot be late. You also have to be prepared to be part of a team. Teamwork on stage is the most important thing. A lot of stars think that that's not the right thing to do, and they stand out a bit because they're not really working with the people that are around them. But a really good play is a company who all respond to each other. Quite often we liken it to a game of tennis. If there's two people talking to each other in a scene, it's like batting the ball backwards and forwards to each other. And, you don't make it, you're not trying to trip the other person up. You're not trying to get the better of the other person. You're trying to entertain the audience as best you can. That's really a fundamental in it, is that you're doing these things for an audience, to entertain, to educate, to inspire. you're not doing it for self-aggrandizement, as some people say, which is to make yourself look like the big Billy Big what's it. So you've got to do it for an audience. That is what it's all about.
It's been like step by step, and kind of thing like that.
Yep, step by step. You build up a production step by step. You'll have a script in advance, and you try and make sure that your little segment of the orange is in the best possible shape it can be, and that you're doing the job to the best of your ability. And you hope that everyone else, all their little segments of the orange, all come together to make a perfect whole. That's what ideally you want. But you can only really be in charge of your own segment and make sure that you're doing the best job you possibly can, and hope that that links in with everyone else.
Can you take your scripts on with you?
What was that, Shannon? Do I think what?
Can you take your scripts on to read and practice?
Well, it depends. If you're doing a radio, no one can see that you've got the script there, so you don't have to learn it on radio. You're reading it, but you're trying to make it sound like you're not reading. You're acting the part, but you are reading at the same time. Obviously, on stage, you can't walk around with the script because the audience would see that you haven't learned your lines.
Yeah.
Because
one example was I had to one of the scenes. I had to call out 4 characters, and in rehearsals, I kept forgetting at least one of them. So right, I have to put them. I'll just put them in my phone. So I kept revising it, and in the end up I thought, right, I'll leave it an hour and then just try and remember them. And in the end up I thought I remembered them, and one of them were like, you can't. Saw me backstage looking at my phone. They were like, what are you doing? I said, oh, just revising names. And they were like, you can't bring it on. They're like, no, it's just remembering them.
Well, that's absolutely a brilliant thing. That's a very, very good tip. Yes, don't forget to put the phone away before you walk on the stage. But that's a very good idea, and there's nothing to stop you. Nothing to stop you doing that. That's a very handy tip, which I shall probably put into operation myself. I'm such a nervous actor that I learn my lines so thoroughly that hopefully I wouldn't ever have to do that. But I've if to each his own or her own. Everyone's got a different way of doing things. If you asked 100 actors the same questions that you've asked me today, you get 100 different answers.
Have you ever been nervous on set?
Oh, yes, particularly on film sets, I get nervous because in a theatre production, you've had so much rehearsal. You've had 3 weeks rehearsal at least for a play, so it really is in your bones. You feel you've really got on top of it. But a film or a TV set's very different. You hardly get any rehearsal. And so you feel like you're standing on shifting sands. That's an expression you might have heard, which means it doesn't feel like a very solid platform from which you're trying to perform. So it's a bit what can I say? It's a bit more neurotic filming, and there's no audience there to clap. No one says, "Oh, that was brilliant, well done." Everyone just says, right, we've got that, let's move on. And you go, was it all right?
It's like you're in Spotlight then.
It's not like you're in the spotlight, or
it's like you're in the spotlight.
Oh yes, it's like you are suddenly, quite often on a film set you're in a trailer which is divided into 3, and you're just sat there for hours and hours and hours on end going over your lines in your head. And then suddenly they'll go, right, you're on, and you scene 62, you're on, Clive. All right, so all right. And suddenly you're on the set, and it's all a bit weird, really. I don't like it as you have to do it because that's the way it's done. But I mean, it's not a greatly satisfying process, I have to say.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Shannon.
Oh yeah. What's your plans in the future?
What are my plans for the future, Daniel? Well, I've just finished book 4, as I say, and my agent and my publishers are reading it now, and they send back lots of notes and say that bit was good, that bit's not good, rewrite that bit. What's that bit about? We don't understand that. So I have to now go through it with what they call a fine-tooth comb and make sure everything's in place. So that will take me the next month. I tour with a wonderful choir called Tenebrae, who sing very, very beautifully, and I do all the readings in between the songs. We do that bubbling up to Christmas around the country.
Oh,
That's
I love that.
Yeah, it's a lovely, lovely thing. They're such magnificent singers. And I do things like the carol concert at Southwell Minster in East Anglia. That's lovely. What else have I got coming up? I'm just trying to think. Yes, all our reunions with with Clanad.
With Robin of Sherwood, yeah.
I know. So yeah, there's lots to look forward to, and I shall, as soon as I've got all the corrections in for book 4, I shall be starting book 5, which is, I think, at the moment it's going to be about the First World War. So I start all my research for that as soon as I've got all the notes done on book 4.
Now we're going to throw over to the office team for any questions. Over to you guys.
Sarah, hello, Sarah.
I know you went in Dibley. Vicar of Dibley.
Oh, Vicar of Dibley. Oh, that's one of my favourite shows to have been in. Yes, that's fantastic. Do you like Dawn French? Is she a favourite of yours?
Yes.
Well, you'll be very pleased to hear that she's an absolutely wonderful woman. She's fantastic. She's great to work with, very friendly and very funny. I
know, being the character for long drama in character. Casualty.
Oh, Casualty, yeah.
You've been there a long while.
Yeah, I
watched it all about you.
Oh, thank you very much. It's lovely.
You're my favourite one.
Oh, thank you. I did Casualty for 5 years, and I did Holby City for 2 years, I think, something like that. So it was a lovely job to do. Casualty was when I was in it, which was in the 1990s, about 30 years before you were born. It was made in Bristol. Now it's made in Cardiff. And Holby City, which is part of the same hospital, when I made that was made in Elstree, which is in London. So the downstairs of the hospital is in Bristol, and the upstairs of the hospital is in London. That's quite.
Yes, I know I was very young. I was going to watch this, Robin Hood.
What was it like being Little John?
Oh, well, it was great fun. If I tell you that each episode took 2 weeks to film, and for at least 3 of those days we had a whole stunt team come down from London. We filmed it mainly in Bristol, and so for 3 days we had a whole load of stuntmen and playing the baddies and playing the people who we had to fight. So I mean, we were exhausted for 3 days, not because of the fighting, but because the stuntmen kept taking us out to the pub at night after.
Oh my God! I thought that would come in some sort of celebration, Clive. I thought that would come in.
Yes, but I think the stuntmen did it on purpose so that we looked a bit green in the gills as the next day.
yeah. I bet that fitted him well. Actually, I'm not being rude.
We were merry men on screen and off screen. I put it that way.
That's good, isn't it?
Another thing that I'm watching Robin Hood.
Oh.
I love that film.
Oh, thank.
I love you, Little John.
Oh,
It's so amazing. I love that film.
Thank-
You're really good actor, and it's so amazing.
oh, thank you very much. Do you know, it's lovely of you to say, and I love Little John. Do you know there's an amazing place called Hathersage in Derbyshire, which is near Sheffield.
Oh yeah.
Oh, was
That's
that?
that's where Little John is buried, and his grave is 11 foot long at least.
Wow.
So he must be
11?
more.
No.
Now my thigh bone, is 22 inches long. When they dug up Little John's bones, his thigh bone was 32 inches long.
Oh,
So just a
my
bit from his hip to his
God.
knee was 10 inches longer than mine.
10
So-
inches? Oh,
Yeah,
my
so-
God.
Either he had he was normal size and he just had extremely long legs, or he was about 8 or 9 or even 10 foot tall, something like that.
Hi, Clive. I'm Adrian. Are you going to be in the pantomime this year?
Am I going to be in pantomime this year? No, nobody wants me this year. No, I've scared everyone so badly the last time I was in it that they don't want me back. No, it just comes in cycles. No one's asked for me. If I was in a show that was on television regularly at the moment, then a theatre would be interested because it would draw more people in on ticket sales. So as soon as I get a nice long running part on television, then there'll be more offers for me to be in panto.
I remember you, Clive, when playing Casualty, and you were playing Casualty.
In Casualty, when what?
You were playing a consultant.
A consultant.
The consultant, Mike Barrett. Yes, he
Yeah.
was. It's a really lovely part to play, and he was a bit superhuman at times. He could spot things going wrong with people. But that aside, it was a great privilege to be able to play such a constructive and happy man. And I followed the real life consultant, the Bristol Royal Infirmary, Jeff Hughes, who I based the character on. So I shadowed him amongst the accident and emergency department. So some poor people coming in with broken arms and cuts and things like that, they're at a pretty low ebb, and Jeff was standing there and treating them, and they looked up and there's this actor standing there learning how to do it. So I do apologise to all the poor people who I stood at their having treatment done in the department. The last thing they needed to see was an actor standing there, but I was blending into the background as much as I could. But it was a great privilege to be able to portray someone working hard in the National Health Service, because I'm a great fan of the NHS. It's got its difficulties and it's got its critics, and no organisation is perfect, but it really, really does try and look after us all in the best possible way, and just needs some help and needs some money and needs some wonderful people like yourselves to galvanise it and suggest better ways of doing things. Hopefully there will come a time when people listen to all our suggestions about how we can make it better.
Yeah.
We actually do some work with our local NHS, and we do inductions for all the new staff.
Oh, fantastic. Well, good for you. And you must pass on my love to them and say thank you for all the hard work that they do. They're amazing people by and large. They've really got our best interests at heart. Tracy, hello, Tracy.
Hi. Leave Pat, you're in, Dr. You.
Now you're going to have to say that again. I didn't. Which what?
Me part, you're in Doctor Who.
No, I didn't get that.
What part?
Were you in Doctor Who?
No, I hadn't.
Oh, was I in Doctor Who? I've done some of their audio recordings. I've done some of those. I think they're called Big Finish, the Doctor Who things on audio tape. But I've never been in an episode of Doctor Who. I know a lot of the Doctor Who's because I do these conventions.
Oh,
And who did I see the week before last? I saw Peter Davison. He was one of the Doctors. A couple of weeks before that, I saw Sylvester McCoy. He was a Doctor. But I've been lucky enough to meet Tom Baker, David Tennant, Peter Davison, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann,
Stephen McGann.
Stephen McGann, is he the Doctor?
No, but
he's in it.
There was no. There were three brothers: Paul, Stephen, Mike, and Stephen McGann was another brother.
Yes, that's right. There's Joe, Mark, Paul, and Stephen. Yes, I was at my drama school with Paul, and I used to play football with them all.
That's good.
Didn't know that one.
Yeah, McGann United, we could have called it.
McGann or Mantle and McGann Limited.
That's it, absolutely right. Very limited.
Money limited.
Anyway, how lovely. Well, it's been great to talk to you all. It really has.
I've got as I sign off and say thank you to Clive for providing his time for us, can I just throw in one extra question, Clive?
Yes.
Have the Robin of Sherwood company, I mean, if your Merry Men are still going, have the Merry Men got a website?
We haven't got a joint one, but we've got things like Facebook pages, things like that. You know, there's one called Spirit of Sherwood, which you can...
Spirit of Sherwood, SPRRIT.
SPIRIT, Spirit of Sherwood.
Spirit of Sherwood, wow.
Yeah, which you can join on Facebook. There's quite a few, you know, of these Robin Hood fan pages, but that would be a good start, and you get to see lots of photographs of the series, and you know, lots of lovely comments from other fans and things like that.
Are messages allowed?
Yes, you put messages on there. Yes.
Official thanks to Clive Mantle for all your time, Clive. It has been an absolute honour talking to you this afternoon, and we can't thank you enough for this hour. It's been wonderful.
Well, thank you very much, and I can truly say it's an honour to have met all of you, albeit over the Zoom link. But thank you for each and every one of your questions. Thank you for your interest. Good luck in everything that you do. Look after each other. That's the most important thing.
We will.
Lovely. And it's a great honour to have talked to you.
I'm going to say, I'll let you know when it's
Can I leave the room?
episode of coming out. I'll let you know about that one.
Lovely. That's very kind of you, Daniel. Thank you very much indeed. Take care, everybody.
Yeah. You too.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, Clive.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Clive.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode for the PKC Podcast Corner. If you went to listen to our minute show all about the just affect people with learning disabilities, you can ask before the PKC Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or you can visit our website peoplefirstqc.com to keep up to date with our podcast, follow us on Facebook, X and Instagram by searching for the PFKC Podcast.